There he is, my man Johnny Brock, coming to you live every single Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Me and my guy Johnny Brock, we're talking about the importance of getting in the room. Why is it important to get in the room? What is it going to do for you? What rooms are you looking to get into? What rooms are the right rooms to get into? Why is it beneficial for you to go to events, conferences, boot camps, masterminds? I'm a big advocate of this. I talk about it all the time. It's helped me get to where I want to be currently in my life. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on going to events and going to masterminds, going to boot camps, conferences, because as you know, the more you learn, the more you earn. So, man, why is it important to get in the room, Johnny? What is the importance of it? How many rooms have you been in? I mean, one of the biggest quotes that always stands out to me is attend events where power collects. So go to events where there's a lot of power. Go to events where you can connect, mastermind, develop relationships, develop strategic partnerships with other individuals that are doing what you want to do. Right? That's the importance of it. Is like you're going to events and conferences and boot camps. Yeah, you could get some information, you can get some data, you can learn some things, right? You can learn what you need to know to get to where you want to be. However, like one of the main reasons you want to go to events and masterminds, boot camps, and conferences is to connect with other individuals, build relationships, meet other people who are doing what you want to do, right? And that's one of the biggest things as far as getting in the room. One of the last rooms that I was in, actually, now that I think of it, I think it was behind the agency and behind the marketing event, and that event was just so impactful. And it's like for me, it's like, man, I'd rather trade whether it's 2,000, 5,000, $10,000 to get in a room like that than to invest a month, 2 months, 3 months of my time and effort trying to learn what I learned at that event in 2 to 3 days, right? So it's really getting to a point where you're trading your money for time, because most
Yeah.
people are trading time for money, right? They're spending 3 months, they're spending 6 months, 12 months to learn what they could learn in a short period of time of like 2 days or 3 days at an event, a mastermind or a boot camp or a conference, because you're connecting with other people that are doing what you want to do. It's as simple as that. Simple. But many people can't wrap their head around like, oh man, I don't know if I should spend $1,000, $2,000. I don't know if I can spend all that money towards airfare, travel. I don't know if I can spend, a couple days away from the family. Like they're thinking about all these, like those roadblocks and barriers that are holding them back from actually just being like, all right, let's do it. And maybe it stems from them potentially having a previous past experience that went wrong with an event or a boot camp or a mastermind or a conference, right? Because they're like, oh, I spent $5,000 on this past previous event, and it was shit. It was junk. Like I didn't learn anything. There were low value people there, and they're like, oh, never going again. Like, dude, like just keep investing, and then eventually you'll find the right things to go to, the right events to go to, right? So that's what we're talking about today. Man, I really appreciate you continuing to jump on these weekly shows. I know our viewers get a lot of value that we're sharing. So, man, it's good to see you, brother. Good to see you in the new office of Bobby Brock Insurance down there in Tupelo, Mississippi. Man, if you guys ever get a chance to visit or go down to Tupelo, or you're in the area of Mississippi, highly recommend you guys get there.
Absolutely, man. First of all, right back at you. I appreciate you getting on these calls. Well, shit, man. If my camera will work, that would be great. While I fix this, I'll kind of talk about something. I've put a few points on. I'm about to. There we go. Come on, baby, stay there. All right. So, wrote a few points down. Ultimately, getting in the room, and I want to touch on one thing that you just said, that what you kind of ended with was, people might spend money with the wrong person, so they have this distaste in their mouth for events and getting the right room with the right people. Maybe they spent 2,500 or 5,000 and they went to an event and they realized that the event was trash, right? Like you said. That's probably going to happen. that's happened to us before. You know, that's happened to Ryan. It's happened to me, and it's happened to, I know, Justin. You know, and it's I've heard him talk about it before, but you know, it's a scarce mindset to say, you know, I don't know if I can spend the money on this again, or you know, maybe you've never done it before, and you're thinking about making that leap. You know, and if you find the right person, maybe you want to go to a behind the agency, which usually does cost about $5,000 or so. You know, you need to first and foremost get out of that mindset that you're scared to spend money, because scared money makes no money. And at the end of the day, you know, you money is gonna come and go, man. And this idea that you're gonna hoard it is crazy. Now I get it. If you can't pay your bills, yeah, you probably shouldn't spend $5,000 to go to an event, right? You need to pay your bills and pay yourself first. But you know, there's gonna come a point when you do get the funds to be able to do this, and you have to get out of that scarcity mindset. So that's number one. But the biggest reason that, and I don't think people understand how valuable this is until they actually experience it. But the biggest reason is the relationships. The biggest reason. So, you know, I have built amazing friends, including Ryan, at events. Like I met Ryan at events, right? We kept showing up at the same events. That was the main reason that we realized that there's a potential for a valuable relationship there, right? You know, eventually you'll become friends with people that, I will say this, the number one reason is the relationships, but the relationships that you build that continue to hold you accountable, right? So I don't want to be left behind, right? I want to grow with these people that I meet, right? The first person, I'll never forget, the first person that I met at an event was Josh Lustig. And I wasn't, you know, Josh Lustig, right? He's a G, okay, and I think he's the same age as Ryan, right? Like, how old are you? 25?
26.
Right? 26. He's like 25, 26 range. I think he's 26 now. And, you know, he's just a phenomenal guy. I wasn't selling insurance at the time. I was actually in the process of getting my license, because actually, I'll be honest, I went to this event and I had not thought about getting my license. I went to record my brother and get some content of him while he was there. It's the only reason I went. And what ended up happening was I was inspired because I met so many cool people. And I was like, wow, you know, at the time I was selling weed and working a couple of jobs that paid me $300 a week, you know, or if that. And you know, I was content, right, with what I was doing. But then I got in the room and it made me think bigger. So why did it make me think bigger? Because I sat at a table with Josh Lustig and Nick Micheletti and Eric Fierro and, you know, some other people and some other cats that made me realize there's a whole nother world out there than what I'm seeing. So that was the main reason that I would recommend going to any sort of events. I think you should start out at the bigger ones, the more conference style ones. And then I think you should, once you accumulate some cash to invest, you should go to the more intimate ones. You know, however, if you've got to choose between, if money's not a factor and you have to choose between one event a year, then that event should be a more intimate one that's focused on the scaling and growing process. Like I'll say this, you know, between the time Ryan went to Behind the Agency in June, was it June of last year? I think it was June. So June and now we're doing one next month. The amount of information that we've gathered since then is crazy, because we've learned how to market to the turning 65 market better than ever, right? And you know, that's some information that we're going to share at the Behind the Agency event. And you know, we almost don't want to share it. It's so good, you know. And so we continue as an agency, we continue to learn how to grow and build and do bigger and better things. So that's the type of information that you're you're gathering, especially at the intimate events, the smaller ones. But like I said, the main reason is relationships. That's the fact that all the money that I spent, I spent 5,000 here, I spent 2,500 there. We throw events, so I'm always at those. The amount of relationships that I've built, like just the relationship I built with Ryan as a friend, is worth all the money that I've spent on these events over the past 3 years or so. Time for money. So a lot of people don't understand that statement, right? So all of the stuff that we've learned over the past, let's just say 8 to 10 years, right? That Justin Brock, being the owner of this company, has learned. When you pay $5,000 to come to an event, and we teach you how to do what we've done, you're paying for you're taking money and trading it for those 3, 4, 5, 6 years of time that it took us to learn those things. So that, if you don't realize in your head how that's worth $5,000, you're crazy, right? Either you're broke and you don't have the money, or you just don't want to admit that paying us would be smarter than you going through that 3-4 year process of learning it yourself. It doesn't make sense, right? So I will say this, and I'll let you go and elaborate a little bit more. So there's this a good way to overcome the objection of I just don't have the money right now. A good way to overcome that objection, especially when you're really selling to senior citizens, but when you're selling to people like agents, right, is, let me ask you, where do you want to be in 6 months from now? And they'll always say, I want to be farther ahead, right? Well, if I told you that you came to this event, you would be where you want to be in 6 months, would you spend the money, right? And they always say, yes, I'll spend the money. I can't promise you that you're going to leave my event and implement what we taught you. I can promise you that if you do implement what we taught you, you will be where you want to be in 6 months. So go ahead and pull the trigger and spend the money, because otherwise, odds are in 6 months, you'll be exactly where you are right now if you don't spend the money, right? That's what I've written down as far as notes here. But at the end of the day, you got to get in the room, right? And I do want to talk about when to spend money as a new agent and an experienced agent. But first, I'd like to ask you that. When somebody is a new agent, how much money should they look to spend as far as their budget is concerned, right? If they're making $100,000 in their first 2 years, right? Their second year, they're going to pull $100,000. Like, how much money should they spend as a new agent? And then kind of transition into when they should stop spending money on events, and if they should stop spending money on events. And also kind of talk about, as an experienced agent, like, you're making $500,000 a year. Where should you spend your money, and how much should you look to spend? Just kind of elaborate on that, what you kind of believe.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the first one I'm going to hit you with is, when should you stop spending money on events? Like, you never stop spending money on events. Never. Like, you never stop doing that. Like, when you stop investing in yourself, you never stop investing in yourself. When you stop reading books, when you stop personally developing yourself, you never stop doing that. Unless you want to cap your ability to grow and your ability to get to where you want to be, then you can stop doing it. But me personally, I'm going to continually go to events. I might even go to the same event or the same mastermind or boot camp multiple times, right? Multiple times, because,
you're going to meet different people there, for one.
Yeah.
You'll meet different people there. And the relationships is where you find 85% of the value. Go ahead, sir.
Exactly. But the repetition is what's going to grow the certainty in what you're learning. And also, like you just said, Johnny, and I was going to mention that as well, you're going to meet different people there, and you're going to build new relationships, or you're going to even see the same people there and be like, wow, this is really an individual that I want to continue to learn from. I want to continue to develop a relationship with. So when do you stop investing into masterminds, boot camps, and conferences? You never stop. You never stop doing that. I mean, man, I take my team with me majority of the time when I'm going to events. Like, I have, 5 to 10 tickets for Medicare Con that's coming up here in April. I have 10 tickets for 10X Growth Conference that I bought for my team that's coming up here in April, like continually investing, not just in myself, but also investing in my team, showing them the importance of why it's valuable and why it's beneficial to go to events and go to conferences and boot camps. One of the things that I'm thinking about, like, why is it beneficial to go to events and masterminds and boot camps? Is like, you're getting into a new environment. You're getting into a new surrounding, right? Sometimes people don't even leave their current, situation where they live, where they grew up. And when you go to these new environments, when you go to these new surroundings to go to an event or a conference and to get around power, as you mentioned, Johnny, like you get these ideas that start sparking in your head, and then you start to think bigger. Like, man, that one idea that you can get from an event or a mastermind or a boot camp, that one idea that you can, originate, it could literally like make or break the entire year or your entire life. Or that one relationship that you build at an event or a mastermind or a boot camp or a conference, that one relationship that you build, it could literally change the entire trajectory of your life. So I'm a big believer in, like, man, I'm just going to continue to invest in myself, because the more I invest in myself, the more I'm going to win, the more I'm going to succeed. And it's been a proven, repeated statistic for myself and for other individuals that I associate myself with, like you, Johnny. Like, all the people I associate with, they're big believers in events, masterminds, and boot camps. Right. So, like, when should you stop? Never stop investing. What is the degree that you should invest into an event? Maybe you're a newer individual. Maybe you don't have the cash flow. For me personally, it's like, if you can't afford to go, which, man, like, anyone can afford to do it. I mean, if it's a $50,000 event, completely understandable. But like, these events, you can find an event for $1,000, less than $1,000, maybe between $1,000, $2,000. You should do anything to get to that event. Maybe it's Medicare Con. You're in the Medicare.
Medicare Cons, you can go for under $500.
Exactly. Maybe it's 10X Growth Conference. You can go for like $1,000. Maybe it's, any type of conference that's out there. Maybe it's a boot camp. Like, find whatever way you can get there and get there. Get in the room. Because as I just said, like, you can learn one piece of information. You can build one relationship. You can have one origination and one idea spark in your mind and your head. That's just going to transform your entire business, your entire year, and your entire life. So not being able to afford it is the exact reason why you should go. And that's what comes to the top of my head. Like, you just want to continue to pay for access. As I mentioned earlier, as you kind of, multiplied upon, is like, dude, like, I'm going to these events, and there's two different events that you can look at. Like, an event that you can look at is either going to be more of like an experience event, like 10X Growth Conference, right? Like, you go there for the experience, right? You can also go there for building relationships, building connections. But there's also more of like more intimate setting events, like, behind the agency, behind the marketing, or, maybe it's a 10X 360 event, or, any type of event. But there's like a more bigger scale event, and then there's more of like an intimate scale event. So you should go to both of them. Like, I mean, dude, just invest in yourself and pay for that access, because you're paying for access of, like you said, Johnny, like 6 years of information, 10 years of information. Like, these people that are sharing the information, and these people that are going to events and boot camps and masterminds, like, they've been learning this information and developing these strategies for the past 10, 15 years. And you're literally paying a smidget of your money that you can make back, your money that you can, create more of, for time. Like, dude, you want to spend 5-10 years to try to learn this yourself? Or do you want to spend $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to learn it from someone else who has mastered what they're teaching you, and you're able to just take that information, you're able to steal that information or the data and implement it in your own life and your own business, right? So I'll leave it off with this. The reason why people don't invest in maybe themselves, maybe in events, we're talking about events, getting in the room, masterminds, boot camps, conferences, the reason they don't invest into them is because they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe in themselves. I don't care if you had a bad experience a year ago, a month ago, a couple years ago with the event. Maybe you had a couple bad experiences. I don't care. Like, hey, just go to events. Your self-determinism and your, decision to go to an event, it should be all reliant upon you to extract data, to extract those connections, to extract those relationships. If you had a bad experience, you need to take full responsibility for it, right? You are at cause for having that bad experience, right? So it's like you don't believe in yourself to actually get the value out of that event, and that's what it all stems down to. So
You don't believe in yourself.
yeah, just get past that. Just get past that. It's a scarcity mindset and a limit mindset right there.
So you're gonna love this, man. I spent $2,500 to go to 10X in March of 2022.
Yep.
And then in April of 2022, so the very next month, we had an event in Birmingham. I made because I went to the 10X event, I made $7,500 because I made a commission of 10 grand. So I look at it as, I invested $2,500, but I learned so much from the 10X conference because of Grant's guys that I went and, my commission check based off that one event was like $9,500. So the way I see it is, I made 7 grand because I spent $2,500 to make almost 10, right? So I made all that money because I did invest in myself. You don't know where the value. I didn't go thinking that was what I was going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I went and I realized, holy shit, I'm not doing it right. So like, I've got something in store this year for Medicare Con, a little bit bigger for my own personal gain. I'm gonna be a little bit more selfish. That being said, I'm still gonna do some good for for old JC. But for what I'll just go ahead and say it. What I'm gonna do this year is I'm gonna offer a beginner like coaching program at Medicare Con for agents and for people that are there for their new agents. Right, it's gonna be very affordable. And it's going to be a phenomenal program that I'm going to lay out to help newer agents and upcoming agents close more deals, cross-sell more, and ultimately make more money than what they're currently making. So I'm going to do that. I'm excited about it. But, so going back to, the events thing, I kind of wanted to touch on the personal development versus business development aspect of it. So, I will say this, I am in 2019 when my brother took me to an event to film for, I said it earlier, I was selling dope. I would sit around all day smoking weed and, working my little jobs or whatever. And there was times where I didn't even work jobs. I just sat around and, I was completely content with selling a little bit of weed and paying my bills and, just being lazy, laying around watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And, I was happy that way, and it opened my mind up. So events have done more for me than I can possibly explain. They have changed my personal life and my desires to the extreme, right? They saved me almost, right? It saved my life almost, what my brother did by taking me places. And it was, for me, it was just like, yeah, an opportunity to go to Dallas and chill. Cool, I'll do that. And when I got there, I realized, wow, there's a whole new world out there. It changed my perspective on life completely. But then also, on the contrary, like when you get to that, when you're already at that point, right? So most of the people that I'm, selling Medicare Con tickets to or behind the agency tickets to or whatever, they're already at a point where their personal development, you can always work on your personal development, of course, but they're already at a point where, past where I was, right? It saved me because it pulled me out of the trenches, set me back up on my feet, and made me realize there's a lot more out there to life. But as far as the business development goes, we've already talked about it. It's basic. It's basic and simple. You're paying money to learn things that otherwise it's going to take years for you to learn. It's really that simple, right? So you put in, like, if I told you, like watching this, okay, I'm talking to you. If I told you that if you give me $1,000, I will get you to where you're going to be in 3 years in 6 months instead. would you not give me that $1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 or 25,000? You would give me that money to get you where you're going to be in 3, 4, 5 years in 6 months instead. So that's what we're telling you is it's doing for us is when we spend the money to get around the right people, we're cutting that time period out, right? And that is priceless, if you ask me, because what I'm going to do in 10 years, or what I was going to do in 10 years, I'm now going to do in 2.5 years.
Yep.
So cut your time and get to where you want to be quicker, right? Because of all that money I spent, because of what my brothers spent on events and experiencing me to, just showing me life and what's really out there in this world, I'm going to retire at 40 as opposed to 65, 70 being a bum, and living off my Social Security. I will retire at 45 because of all the money my brother has spent on events and getting out there and learning more about the life. If I was just like my father was, a basic independent agent, I would be 65 and I would be living off my residuals and a little bit of Social Security, but I'm going to retire at 45. I'm 30 right now. In 15 years, I will have a real estate portfolio and an insurance agency big enough to where I can exit or live off the business income. I probably will exit. But, at the end of the day, like, that's what we're telling you. Spend the money, get around the right people, and you'll cut all of that time and you will get to where you want to be quicker. It's really that simple. You get in the right room and you'll get to where you want to be quicker. And that's priceless if you ask me.
Exactly. So it's all about expediting that process. You want to get to where you want to go quicker. You want to get what you want to get quicker. Go to events, go to masterminds, get in the room, go to Medicare Con, go to 10X Growth Conference, go to the 10X Boot Camp, whatever it might be. There's events out there, right? But it stems back to, like, I'm thinking, like, also something to touch on is, like, man, what are the right events to go to, right? What are some of the right events for people to go to, for people to attend, right? It's like, you're at a basic foundational level of, like, okay, I'm going to events to learn information, but then the next level of it is, like, I'm going to events to build connections, to build relationships, to build potential partnerships, right? So there's two different sectors of events, and you're either going there for the information, as we spoke about, or you're going there for the relationships and the connections, or you can do a combination of both. I'm doing a combination of both. I want to learn information. I want to take away a little bit of this, a little bit of that, so I can implement it in my life. And then I also want to build those connections and relationships. But man, it's like, what are some events that you would recommend folks to go to? Obviously, we got Medicare Con if they're in the insurance industry. I recommend, obviously, 10X Growth Conference. Been following Grant for the past 7 years or so. Any other events that you can personally think of that, viewers and listeners can actually go to?
So I'm biased, man. Look, if you're in the Medicare or if you're in the insurance agent space, Medicare space, it's behind the agency all day. You spend $5,000 and we can cut, like, literally, let's say that you're in year 2, right? You're a good independent agent, but you want to build an agency. If you give us the $5,000, you will cut out 4 or 5 years of learning and growing on your own, and you'll get there a lot sooner. It's worth more than what we pay. So it's and that is also like Ryan's model. Ryan came in. Ryan's a completely different model than what we are, but he's still got his money's worth. But if you're an independent agent, and like on Ryan, then he's more of like an agency. He wants to build a bunch of his own downlines, right? Whereas you can also have the type of person like me. I prefer an LOA shop, right? I prefer an in-person shop, and I believe before it's said and done, Ryan and us and I will run our own LOA shops across the country, right? I believe that that's coming very soon. Actually, it's something that I want to talk to him about on the back end of things, right? But you've got multiple styles of what you're going to do. But Behind the agency is going to be how to build a LOA shop and how to build it and on steroids. Okay. And then you've got, honestly, Ryan should do an event on how to build a recruiting style agency, because he's done very well at it. Right. But, my thing is, I think, Medicare Con, behind the agency is where you should go. I went to 10X Growth Con. I think everybody should go to Uncle G's conference once. Like I said, it made me more money than any other conference has as far as immediate return. But it was a little bit different for me because not everybody's got an event that they can sell products at like I do, right? So it was an immediate turnaround for me. But still, the experience of it, I mean, I've got to see Donald Trump. That was cool, But I think it's pretty simple. If you're in the Medicare space, it's honestly a slam dunk. If you're in the Medicare space, Medicare Con, behind the agency is where to go. Yes, I'm biased. I can tell you right now that our team, we don't spit bullshit in your face and tell you to kick rocks. Like, if it's not valuable to you, we're not going to back it up. We're not going to support it. We're not going to regurgitate that information. But also, I think you should go to 10X Growth Con. I think everybody should experience that one time, at least. In the insurance space, Ryan, I mean, Medicare Con is the only one, really. I mean, everything else is. Here's the thing. What you're doing, if you're an insurance agent, what you're doing, Medicare Con, the people who built Medicare Con are actively doing what you're doing. The people that we bring to Medicare Con are actively doing what you're doing. So it makes sense to go. Behind the agency is a more in-depth look at how to scale and grow and build something that is worth a shitload of money because you've helped a boatload of people.
Yep.
Then I think about what else is out there. I'm not even mentioning the other insurance industry conferences because I believe that they're full of phony people. That's what I believe, and I'm not gonna give them any credit. So I believe, that you got a few other conferences out there, and it's not that they're not good. It's just that I believe they're not actually helping people. So, like, how can you pay money to go learn how to sell insurance from people that aren't selling insurance? It doesn't make sense, right? It's really more of a party than anything, a hype fest. If you want to go to a party, maybe go to the other conferences. But also, Medicare Con's got a nice little VIP party too. It's fun. But at the end of the day, we're showing people how to scale and grow their agency. That's what we want to do, right? So there's that. But I'm biased, Ryan. You can't ask me that question. I'm biased. Where do you think some conferences people should go to? Let's hear it, and then we'll close on that.
Yeah, like I said, 10X Growth Conference, Medicare Con, behind the agency, behind the marketing, 10X Business Bootcamp, phenomenal. Like, you can get a ticket to 10X Business Bootcamp for less than $1,000. You're going to learn about marketing. You're going to learn about sales. You're going to learn about execution, leadership. You're going to learn about people. And like, the cool thing is like, if you're in business and you're a business owner, maybe you're just a selfpreneur, like, you want to go to these events because who else is going to be there? Who else is going to be at a business event? It's going to be business owners and people that are, in sales, right? And you want to connect with these people, right? So 10X Business Bootcamp, those are the main events that come to the top of my head. And, there's plenty of other events out there, but those are the ones that I've went to personally. They've impacted my life. They've gotten me to where I'm currently at. It's going to get me to where I currently want to go. And man, I'm just excited, man. This new year of 2024 is going to be great for both of us. And we're going to continue to come to the viewers every single Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Hope everyone found some value out of this. Me and my guy, Johnny Brock, JB, over there in Tupelo, Mississippi. Go check out their new office over there in Tupelo, Mississippi. 12,000 square foot office. Jeez.
I'll go ahead and tell you right now, we're doing a behind the agency next month in March. This is a spur of the moment thing. We've, got so many people that are interested. We're going to go ahead and throw one next month. The event will be held in our office. It's big enough now to where we have a classroom setting in the office. So it'll be held exactly where the consumers are walking in, doing the appointments. So you'll get to see firsthand. what it's like a real day in the life of being an agent at Bobby Brock Insurance. And then we'll also teach you a lot of shit. So hit me up if you want to learn more about that. You can contact me on Instagram, The Real Johnny Brock. YouTube, also The Real Johnny Brock. Put a little bit of content on there. Not enough. Got to get more. But of course, Johnny Brock on Facebook. Shoot me a DM and let's see if we can get you to the event. My camera's jacked up.
That's right. All right, folks. We'll see you guys next week. We're tuning out. Thank you for
See you next week.
Let's go.